Thank you for tuning in for this presentation, turning your book's main conflict into a stellar book description and Amazon ad. I am Brian Cohen. So, I like to talk about book descriptions a lot. I like to write book descriptions, but what is a book description? Well, it's the text that you put on your back cover of your paperback or hardcover book and on your online sales pages, wherever you publish your books, Apple, Kobo, Amazon, etc. It usually ends up being around 150 to 300 words. It could be a little longer for nonfiction than for fiction. And it is your chance. It is your opportunity to get readers excited about your book. It is also the best way possible to take people who are just browsing your sales page online and turn them into a buyer. But 150 to 300 words, how am I supposed to condense an 80,000 word book into that few number of words? Well, first we're going to start with a formula. This is the book description formula. I've talked about it a lot. Just to recap, starts with a headline or a hook, goes into a synopsis of your plot with a huge character focus. It has the selling paragraph after that, which convinces readers who are still on the page to go and buy. And it ends all with a call to action, recommending the action that readers go and buy your book. Now here's the tough part. Here's the challenge. We've got a book full of plots, characters, settings. If we have nonfiction, it's full of tips. And we have this kind of limited window, this 150 to 300 words to get these readers excited enough to actually go buy the book. But how do you condense it? Well, you need to think of it in a different way. You're not actually condensing it. You're actually making a choice. So you need to choose the main conflict if your book is fiction, or the main takeaway if your book is non-fiction. Because novels have a lot of conflicts here and there. Non-fiction books have a ton of takeaways, but you need to pick the number one conflict or takeaway that's going to resonate with your target readers. So if you sit down, list out all of the conflicts, all of the takeaways that are inside your book, then you can, from that list, pick the one that is the most important, pick the one that readers of your genre would most identify with. If it's a romance, they're going to like the romance elements amplified. If it is about getting out of debt, obviously they're going to want debt and getting out of in that headline. And once you write down that conflict, you are, or takeaway, you're going to base the start of your book description just on that. So you aren't going to worry about the other 80,000 words in your book. You are going to focus on what is the conflict, and then you're going to write your book description based on that. So I have a couple of examples. Obviously, if you were trying to summarize all of Harry Potter, you could list out all of these plot points and all of these characters, but instead, you could focus on a single conflict. Harry just learned magic, but the most powerful wizard of all time is out to kill him. Pretty big conflict. Tough to choose something in the book or the series that is going to be bigger than that. And then you create the headline, which could be used as a hook for your book description, or an Amazon ad. When evil awakens, one boy's magic must save the world. So that was just based off of the conflict. For nonfiction, example from The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Lots of tips, lots of examples in that book. There's so many different things you can use, but you could settle on this takeaway alone. Discover how to declutter your house using one simple rule, the rule being, does this bring me joy? And then you create a headline based on that. Tired of dealing with clutter every day of your life? Discover a simple system that'll cut you are tidying time in half. So really what you've got to do is you've got to make sure you start with good material when you are trying to write your copy. And so the good material here is a strong conflict or a strong takeaway, and then using that as the focus for your descriptions, your ads, and more. So maybe you thought that information was good. I hope you did. Who am I again? Who is telling me this information again? I'm Brian Cohen. I am an author, a podcaster, and a USA Today best-selling author. I love teaching this stuff. I love connecting with authors and the other wonderful teachers in the space. You'll see me there with my co-host Jim Kukral, with Joanna Penn, with Mark Lefebvre, with the Free Booksy folks. I love spreading this information throughout the world to authors to help them with their copy, to help them with the words outside of their books. And I'm also a dad, so there's me with my daughter Riley. She's older now. She's a toddler, but I still do wear her in the pack from time to time. So that's who I am. I also happen to have written over 1,000 book descriptions in a variety of genres, and I have made sure that I teach the things that I've learned about book descriptions in presentations like this, and in webinars, and in all sorts of things. So, here is what you're going to learn today during the presentation. You'll learn why a book description is your ticket to better sales and more readers. You'll learn how to effectively write those 4 parts of your description, and you will learn how to write short copy that gets readers interested in all of your future books. So what is copy? I talk about copy. What is it? These are the words that are outside of your book. These are the words that are not the ones you've written in the story or in the nonfiction book. These are anything outside of your book. And these are what readers use to judge our work before they decide if they are going to buy. This is kind of the last thing they check before they go for it. So this, in my opinion, is the part of book marketing that we have the most control over, because you can hire out a cover, you can hire out editing, but there's other things happening there. People are working on this, but in a lot of cases, you're the one who's going to write the copy for your description, for your ads. So you have control over it, so you need to get it right. Now, not everybody knows this kind of information, but this heat map, which is kind of a visual representation of what potential readers look at when they look at an Amazon sales page, what this kind of information shows is that the red areas are where readers are looking at the most, the red and orange areas, and the blue are where they are just glancing. So if you look at this book, if you look at this book sales page, you're seeing that there are people checking out the title, the reviews. Those are pretty obvious. And then they make one last little check before they go on to maybe decide if they're going to buy or not. And that's the book description. Look at this. The blue area on the cover shows that they're only really precursorily glancing in that area, but the orange and red right in this book description area shows that they look at the title and the reviews first, and then they definitely look at that description to see if it sounds good. So, copy is your closer. You've got a cover that draws readers to the page. Maybe they click through an ad based on the cover, or a social media post that has the cover in it. The title, the reviews, they keep the reader long enough there to read. And then the book description. What they read is the book description, and it seals the deal. It makes them decide, yes, I am going to buy this book because it sounds great. So that means we need to make sure they like the description. so they'll buy the book. We've got to get it right. We've got to get it right. We can't just throw something up there and hope for the best. So the description starts with a hook. This is a one-liner that compels readers to keep on reading, that compels these browsers to either keep reading or just go buy the book. It's their first impression they get of you as an author, potentially, of your book, of your plot, of your characters, or nonfiction, of your content. And if they like that line, just the hook, they might buy your book. They might join your email list. You can do a lot with one line, so we want to make sure that line is fully optimized. Now, Adam Croft, who I know has spoken previous Ally presentations, is a wonderful example of how one line can make a huge difference. Adam was doing decently well, and then he shot up suddenly to 6 figures, the quote, overnight success, which we know doesn't really exist. But what did Adam do to make this happen? Instead of writing a book and then writing the hook for that book, Adam wrote the hook first for his book, Her Last Tomorrow, and the hook was, Could You Murder Your Wife to Save Your Daughter? A really fantastic psychological thriller hook. And he didn't just put this hook on his book descriptions. He didn't just put it on his ads. He put it on his cover. He put it everywhere you could possibly put it. And he made this hook into this amazing selling point for the book. It took off, ended up getting a deal with an Amazon imprint, ended up going up to 7 figures. Incredible, incredible stuff for Adam here. And a lot of it started with his decision to write a fantastic hook. So you probably want to write a good hook too, huh? You're convinced, I hope. Show me how, you might say. Well, here is a 4-step system to write one of these hooks. So first, as we mentioned earlier, pick a conflict or takeaway. So list them all out. Sit down, pad of paper, Word document, write them out. Pick the number one option that readers of your genre would care about. Thrillers, you're probably going to emphasize the thrill elements. You might not necessarily emphasize the setting or something like that. You want to focus on what readers care about. So let's do a couple of examples here. A fiction example for The Fault in Our Stars. 2 teens are in love, but they're dying of cancer. That's a pretty rough conflict there. And then a takeaway for nonfiction for your best year ever. Discover a 5-step process for writing New Year's resolutions that stick. So the conflict is often people want something, but something is in their way. The takeaway is, here is a system that is going to fix your problem. So now we are going to use that conflict or takeaway to write the hook. So ignore the book. As I mentioned before, you're not trying to condense 80,000 words into like a sentence. You want to just focus on that conflict or takeaway and use that to write the hook or headline. So what I used the conflict for in The Fault in Our Stars: young love, a terminal diagnosis. Time is running out. And then for your best year ever, this one's a pretty simple, almost one-to-one comparison. Are your New Year's resolutions always out of reach? Discover a 5-step process for setting and achieving your loftiest goals. You'll find that the takeaway is often baked deeply into the hook, and it just has is preceded by a problem in the form of a question, whereas we can be a little more creative with the hook for our fiction. Next, we are going to rewrite the hook multiple ways. So I recommend when you write a hook, write 15 to 20 versions of that hook. And we can use that for ad copy, as I mentioned there. But for the sake of time, we're just going to do one additional version of each. So for The Fault in Our Stars, dying of cancer is tragic, but it's worse when you're in love. And then your best year ever. Will this be the year you achieve your resolutions? Discover a 5-step process for making New Year's a time for goal-setting celebration. So I recommend you write as many different variations as differently as you can write them. You'll notice it's this for Fault in Our Stars it was 2 sentences, and now this is 1 sentence with a comma conjunction in the middle with an ellipsis at the end. So it's different. And I recommend for your fiction especially, write as many different versions as you can. Nonfiction, I like the question followed by the book phrased as a solution to the problem that you mentioned in the question. And so I think that one you're not going to get as much variety, but fiction, definitely try out a lot of different things, different words, different sentence structures. Step 4, pick the emotional one. Pick the one that makes you excited enough to read your own book. And if you can't kind of parse that out, then ask your readers or ask fellow authors. Option 1 for Fault in Our Stars was Young Love, a terminal diagnosis, time is running out. And option 2, dying of cancer is tragic, but it's worse when you're in love. Which one do you like better, 1 or 2? Well, I personally like number 2 better, because in my opinion, after having read the book, I think it fits the tone better, and it ends with a stronger word, love versus out, because every word is so important in copywriting. But they could both work, and heck, you could try both of them for ad copy and see which one converts better, which one gets more clicks, which one leads to more sales. Pick the emotional one for nonfiction. Option 1. Are your New Year's resolutions always out of reach? Discover a 5-step process for setting and achieving your loftiest goals. Or option 2, will this be the year you achieve your resolutions? Discover a 5-step process to make New Year's a time for goal-setting celebration. So, which one do you think fits better with the book? Which one makes you want to buy the book more? In this case, I picked option 1. I like the question/problem a little better. It has that nice keyword phrase of New Year's resolutions, which I think people might be searching. And so I like putting that in there. But either way, and you can try as many different ones as you like, especially when you write 15 to 20 options, and you can kind of mix and match different versions to come up with the official winner. So here's a few more hooks and headlines. I believe the slides will be included here so you can glance over these. Thriller, a death row escapee, nuclear launch codes in the wrong hands, a retired detective is the world's only hope. If you can read it in the movie trailer guy's voice, you're headed in the right direction usually. Sci-fi, humanity has escaped Earth. Their second home is in the line of fire. One renegade pilot will save or doom us all. And fantasy, fairies and humans have always stayed separate until now. A reckless sprite's first day on the job could be her last. Notice how we're always ending with a big kind of cliffhanger that something bad could happen. And that's kind of where we want to leave these more often than not. And these are all in 3-sentence format, but I was just in a 3-sentence mood. Don't worry, they don't have to be in that format. Romance, he just wants to forget. She wouldn't take help if it landed on her. Together they'll find out exactly what they were missing. That's what romance readers want to see. There's a guy, there's a girl, or there's 2 guys, there's 2 girls. Do they get together? What's going to happen? That's what they want to see. Young adult could be really any subgenre. You could have young adult romance, young adult sci-fi. But for this one, popularity just turned its back on him. She's never fit in. School never saw them coming. They're rebels against the cause. And then memoir is a little bit funky because it tends to be a fiction beginning and a nonfiction end. So it's party in the front, business in the back, like a reverse mullet. Memoir, a terrifying diagnosis, an unbreakable bond, an unforgettable journey. Now remember, you create as many headlines as you want, and then you can use them in your advertising copy as well. But what if it's cross-genre, you might ask? You play up the angle that genre readers tend to like the most. It's usually romance or thrills. Romantic suspense can be a little bit hard, but you can kind of make it more of a romantic headline with the element that could keep them apart in the third part of that hook be the suspenseful thing that could kill them, sort of thing. So why do strong hooks make a difference? Well, let's say we show our hook to 1,000 readers. Typical ad copy could get 5% of them to buy, 1 out of 20. But a better hook may convert 2 to 5% more, 7 to 10%. So that means if we send 1,000 readers to the page, that's 20 to 50 extra sales. If we send 10,000 readers to the page for a big promotion like a BookBub or a whole mess of advertising, that's 200 to 500 extra sales. And that, if you're making $2 a pop per book, $400 to $1,000 worth of extra sales just from improving your hook. And if you have multiple books, that could be an improvement of that earning amount on every single book on your backlist. So obviously, we don't want to leave money on the table, so let's write the strongest hooks we can. So you've got their attention with this first line of the description. It gets that hook in, and now it's time to reel in the the reader, with a synopsis that is just bubbling over with emotion. So that's easy, some of you might say. Well, I'll throw together a quick summary in 20 minutes or less and throw it up there without double checking. I'll be done with it for the next couple of years. You know, obviously I'm making fun of that, but it's what 90% of the author community does, and it's a bad idea. So book descriptions are so much more important than you might think. Thriller author Mark Dawson did a survey years ago of 10,000 readers on his list. And he found that when he asked them how they learned about him, nearly 5 times as many readers found him through his book descriptions compared to his covers, considering some people spend $500 on their cover but 5 seconds on their book description. If this 5-to-1 ratio of people finding through book description to cover pans out across the industry, I mean, maybe you're putting your eggs in the wrong place there. So if you're wondering why your book might be tanking despite a great book and an amazing cover, it could be this main portion of the book description, the synopsis. So we want to get that synopsis right. We also have another example here, Brian Meeks, who is a thriller mystery writer and an Amazon ads guru. He was trying to increase his ad conversion, and he decided to spend time working on his description because he knew that could increase his conversion. So he wrote, Henry knew one thing, dames were trouble. Would this client be the exception? For his comedic detective novel. And he put in $40,000 into Amazon ads, mostly after making that description change. And he turned around $169,000. So a 300% plus return on investment for Brian. And a lot of it had to do with him rocking his descriptions. So we need to remember that the description can be a huge part of us getting our ads to convert more effectively. So how do I get numbers like that, you might ask? Well, first, you need to overcome these 4 common synopsis hurdles. So the typical fiction synopsis doesn't know why its characters matter. It doesn't flow. It's choppy. It doesn't grow. It fails to keep the momentum going and crescendoing, growing as it keeps moving along. And it doesn't show that there is a reason to buy the book, that the book is awesome, that there is a huge cliffhanger in the description that leaves readers wanting more. It doesn't show that. So it doesn't know, doesn't flow, doesn't grow, and doesn't show. So, to rhyme with all of those. So, the best-selling books of all time have amazing characters that we can't forget, like Katniss Everdeen, Hermione Granger, Arya Stark, and we relate to them. We connect with them. I remember this story when my mom taught at a camp over the summer. All the little girls wanted Katniss hair. You want readers to care as much about your characters as these little girls did about Katniss Everdeen. And so you can't just put in a full name and a plot summary and get readers to start loving your characters. You need to go above and beyond. So make readers know your characters matter. Right off the bat, you want to answer the question, what defines your protagonist? What is your main character going through at the top of your description? Example, this is a silly one, but Harry Potter just found out his whole world is a lie. Something that grounds us in who this character is and what they are dealing with. What is your character's deal at the beginning? We need to start finding something to connect with them about. Secondly, we want to make sure things flow. You don't want to just have the same sentence of the same length, of the same style over and over again. You need to mix it up. So a combination of short sentences and long sentences is a better path. So here is an example of what not to do. As a spy for the top British intelligence agency, MI6, David Trotter has the highest security clearance, but he can't tell his family anything, which has never been a problem until now. All one sentence. Instead, do this. David Trotter is at the top level of British intelligence. He may love his family, but he can't tell them anything about his top security clearance and his license to kill. It hasn't been a problem until now. So we're emphasizing things by using the periods. We took out a little bit of the detail to make it flow better. So we put a period after intelligence, which emphasizes things like family, which emphasizes his license to kill, and that nice little pause before it hasn't been a problem until now really emphasizes that last turnaround at the end of that paragraph. So do not try to stuff everything into one sentence. My rule of thumb, 1 comma per sentence in your book descriptions. If you need to do 9 clauses in your description in one sentence, it's probably got too many ideas. Make it easy on the reader. You also want to make sure there's momentum that's growing throughout this description. So you want to use transitions to kind of keep transferring the energy from one sentence to the other. You don't want it to just fall flat, because your synopsis is like a shark. It needs to keep moving to pass that water over its gills and keep breathing. So here are some examples of transitional phrases using words like when, after, gerunds like dancing, or words like as. So when the whole world changed, comma, after meeting his maker, comma, dancing his way to the top of the charts, comma, as the tension between them builds, comma. So we're growing that energy by putting these at the front end of sentences in order to just keep that energy going. And lastly, it needs to show. You need to raise those stakes to their highest possible end and name them. What is the consequence of the protagonist not achieving his or her goal? Because you don't want to just peter out. You want to have a big reason for the reader to go buy your book. For example, if they fail, the ones he loves may not survive the night. Someone might die, and the ones he loves are the ones who might die if the protagonist doesn't succeed. So, to nail the fiction synopsis, you need to know the character's emotions, connect those readers with your character. You need to let the description flow with short sentences and long sentences, mix it up. You need to use transitional phrases to grow that momentum as you continue, and you want to show just how crazy the book might get using cliffhangers at the end. Leave them wanting more. So the only way to fulfill that more is by buying the book. Now, a couple of issues I see with nonfiction all the time. You need to establish your expertise. Even if you're just an author, and that's what your expertise is, you need to include that. Here's an example if you have other qualifications. Fitness and military intelligence expert Gary Collins has helped thousands of people roam free with first-hand advice shared on his popular website. So we've got several points here showing that Gary is knowledgeable, and so we can use that in our description. And then the other thing is, I see so many authors list their entire table of contents. You don't need to list everything. Just focus on how your reader will transform from reading this book. What will they learn? So inside, you'll learn how to balance your checkbook so you can finally save up for your dream vacation. It's not just balance your checkbook so you can get out of debt. It's so you can take the next step, which is finally saving up for your dream vacation. So what comes after the synopsis? Well, it is time for the last chance, your last plea, your closing argument that is going to make or break the opportunity for readers to go buy that book. So you need to remind your reader what the book is and the action they should take to start reading it. And we do this with the selling paragraph and the call to action. So you just ended with this big cliffhanger. Shouldn't you just end with the synopsis? One might say. Well, in the data compiled by BookBub, who has a heck of a lot of data about readers clicking and buying, instead of just having something like, oh, it's an action-packed read, or just petering off at the end of the synopsis, they have something like, if you love thrillers, don't miss this action-packed read. So if you like this, then you'll love that, is a framework that, in this case, got nearly 16% higher click-through rate. And if you have 16% higher clicks on your sales page, that's 16% more people buying the book. That is a percentage I want. So why does the if you like this thing work? Why does that work? Well, if the reader hasn't bought the book yet, they're not sold on it. They have not been, they have decided for whatever reason they're not ready to buy it yet. So we need to answer the what if this book isn't for me? How do I know for sure that this book is going to live up to my expectations? So the selling paragraph breaks through this resistance by using the if you like this format and answering these questions in 2 simple sentences. Sentence 1, you tell it like it is. You just say what genre the book is, and if you're in a series, you mention the series. Ted Saves the World is the first book in a young adult superhero series. That's it. Nothing too crazy. But if the reader likes that genre and they have other books in that genre, it makes it so it's similar to previous purchases for them, and that scores another point for you. So they're more likely to buy the book. Sentence number 2, why should I buy? So you want to use adjectives to describe your book. Praiseworthy, pertinent adjectives that make your book sound even better than what you already put above. You don't want to think of yourself like this modest, bashful author. You want to assume that you are the publisher of this amazing book, and as a result, you are willing to say good things about it. So you use the if you like this, then you'll love this format, because BookBub showed that that converts better. So if you like wall-to-wall action, witty dialogue, and touching romance, then you'll love the first installment in Brian Cohen's Super Powered series. So this sentence has, not just the run-of-the-mill one adjective, or maybe just say, go buy this book now. It says, hey, there's good things about this. There are things that readers really love about this. So where do we find these adjectives? Well, if you don't want to speak highly of yourself and come up with them on your own, you can use your customer reviews to speak for you. You can copy paste, paraphrase, quote them, and use those as the if you like this, then you'll love that, And those variables, you can plug in the things that your readers have said about you. I would go with the positive ones, personally. So here are a couple of examples. Dead of Winter is the first standalone book in a spine-tingling series of romantic suspense novels. If you like small-town mysteries, heart-wrenching romance, and gripping tension, then you'll love Melissa Pearl and Anna Cruz's white-knuckle thrill ride. And then for nonfiction, The Law of Action is your practical handbook for mapping out your path to a purposeful life. If you like real-life examples of success, no-nonsense advice, and simple steps you can start today, then you'll love Rob Actus's Life-Changing Guide. So there are a couple of examples. Now, there is one more step in the process. This is our actual final plea to the readers. Got your selling paragraph. If they're still around, then let's tell them exactly what to do next. So this is our last pitch, which comes in the form of a call to action. So what is the call to action? It is an opportunity to give readers guidance about what their final steps should be. So you're almost holding their hand all the way through to the shopping cart and telling them exactly what to do, actually in the form of a command. So example 1, buy the Pugs of War to start the hilarious caper today. So you literally say buy. You tell them to go buy it. And then this other example, buy Set Free by Real Love to start your must-have roadmap of the heart today. So buy this. You don't have to use the word buy. You can use other words like discover, unlock, explore, but I like buy because it's very specific and it is what I actually want them to do. I also, as you can see, like the word today because I want them to buy it now, not later. So your full book description, putting it all together, your one-line hook, which could be a couple sentences, but it's to reel in the reader. Your emotionally charged synopsis, which has a very character-driven focus to further entice them. The selling paragraph to break through their buying barriers. And then the call to action to lead them into exactly what they need to do to get your book. So here is an example of the whole description at work for fiction. Reality is under attack. Every battle could be their last, and they're down to their last life in the battle to save his race. And notice there's a transitional phrase right from the beginning. Scarhoof is the last guard standing. If the old shaman warrior fails to gather reinforcements, comma, that's another little phrase there giving us momentum, the defenseless minotaurs in his care will fall into the enemy's scaly clutches. I love that phrase right there, scaly clutches. But on the other side of the VR console, notice another phrase with a comma that is giving energy into the next sentence. Far more than Scarhoof's game world is at stake. Adriana and her team of programmers are in for some long nights on the job. Epoch International's latest immersive game wasn't supposed to come out for months, but a rogue AI had other plans. It's trapped players in the simulation and held their memories hostage. Notice that's a shorter sentence there after the longer one. If Adriana can't hack her way back in, Scarhoof and the other players, cliffhanger, could be lost forever. Here's the selling paragraph. Eloria's Beginning is the dynamic first book in a new lit RPG series. If you like unconventional fantasy heroes, epic battles, and immersive gaming worlds, then you'll love Tom Hansen's VR adventure. Buy Eloria's Beginning to boot up for a high-octane gaming session today. There's our call to action at the end. Let's do a nonfiction example. It's going to be a little bit different. Are you tired of living your life on autopilot? There's the problem in the form of a question. Discover a 7-minute fix to take back control and enjoy every moment. And that is our takeaway. We're going to have a couple other questions here. Do you feel like you're too busy for self-reflection? Does your well-being take a back seat to your everyday responsibilities? Has that made you stressed out and on edge? So these questions are expanding our potential target audience. Author Justin R. Adams. was exactly where you are until he fine-tuned his methods for cultivating mindfulness. So Adams doesn't have a huge list of credentials here, but he is an author, and he was where you were when he started. So that is his establishing expertise. And now he's here to help you become healthier, wealthier, and wiser. The Mindful Life Journal, 7 minutes a day for a better, more meaningful life, contains daily journal prompts and playful exercises to enrich your emotions, your intentions, and your energy by combining ancient Eastern wisdom with modern Western science. Adams' methods can make you more self-aware and confident with just 7 minutes of effort per day. So that's almost our synopsis right there. And we have the phrase, by combining ancient Eastern wisdom, that helps us keep the momentum going. Now we have some of those transformational benefits. In the Mindful Life Journal, you'll discover how to gain a deeper understanding of the relationship between emotions and energy. 13 fun challenges to help you pause and internalize the moment. How to start your day in a better mood and become more intentional about your life. 3 months of non-dated entries and daily prompts to reflect on your progress. And a greater sense of clarity of your beliefs, your values, and your sense of purpose, and much, much more. It's a life-affirming book. So those are our 5. I like to use 5 bullet points. And I like to say, and much, much more at the end, because there is more in the book. This life-affirming book is the journal you need to live a more mindful life. If you take, and that one, life-affirming and life is an echo I actually wish I would change. I keep forgetting to. So I would use maybe a different word than life there the second time. If you like time-tested methods, structured approaches to self-reflection, spending just a few minutes a day to make real progress, then you'll love Justin R. Adams' Inspirational Guide. Notice the adjectives for fiction and nonfiction are going to be a little bit different. Buy the Mindful Life Journal to learn to live in the moment today. So once you have your full book description, as you saw in those examples, you can actually reuse portions of it for your advertising. So first and foremost, if you follow my advice and write 15 to 20 hooks and headlines, you'll have a ton to work with. You can also pull in the final line of your synopsis. That cliffhanger can be a great line of Amazon ad copy. And you can use either sentence from your selling paragraph as well. The Ted Saves the World is a young adult superhero book, or the If You Like This, Then You'll Love That. Both of those will work for Amazon ad copy. So let's put it all together. You've got your compelling hook. It gets browsers to buy or to keep on reading. You've got that description, that synopsis that leaves your readers wanting more, that leaves them wanting to buy the book. But if they don't buy the book, they solidify their decision with the selling paragraph that clues them in that your book is for them. And then the call to action. If they're in 90 different windows on their Internet Explorer browser, hopefully they have a better browser than that, because Internet Explorer always gives me viruses. But the call to action gives them a command of what they need to do to get a hold of that book. And with all of your future marketing efforts, you have a better description, which should increase your conversion, getting more browsers to turn into buyers every time you market your book in the future. So it's the marketing that makes all the other marketing come together. So I want to thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you found it helpful. I hope that you take this and write a fantastic description. Now, if you're interested in learning more about copywriting from me, about getting the words outside of your book to stand out, then I want you to visit my web pages. This is a call to action. Visit my web pages at sellingforauthors.com. You can get some free training there, or at bestpageforward.net. You can learn more about my book description writing business. You can also listen to me each week on the Sell More Book Show podcast. Myself and Jim Kukral. We've been running for over 200 episodes, so you can listen to the weekly news every single week. And that's it. So I hope you have a wonderful day of writing, copywriting, and selling your books. Having a better book description, having better copy sells more copies. So I hope you go out there, improve your copy so you can get more copies sold. Have a wonderful time watching these Ally videos, and thank you to the Alliance of Independent Authors for putting on such fantastic events. Send them a nice thank you if you have an opportunity. Take care, you guys, and enjoy your book selling day.